I want you to just picture your typical weeknight dinner for a second. Like, really visualize it.
Oh, yeah, the classic rushed weeknight meal.
Right, exactly. You've just gotten home, you are exhausted, and you're basically just throwing whatever you have together. So maybe you've got, a nice piece of roasted chicken on the plate, or like a nicely seared block of tofu.
Sure.
And right next to that, you've got a comforting, heavy scoop of mashed potatoes.
The essentials, yeah.
The essentials. But then there it is, sitting right next to the potatoes.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Right. It's that obligatory, modest, and frankly, just unexciting spoonful of bright green peas.
The absolute classic afterthought of the American dinner plate. I mean, it is almost a reflex to put them there.
It totally is. For most of us, those peas are like the ultimate background actors of our meals.
Yeah.
Like you probably scooped them straight out of a frosty, somewhat beaten up cardboard box or a plastic bag from the absolute back of your freezer.
Yeah, usually covered in freezer burn.
Exactly. And let's be honest, you are probably eating them out of sheer habit or because you feel this, this vague, lingering guilt that you need to have something green on your plate.
Right. It's rarely out of any genuine culinary excitement. It's just sort of...
Good box to check.
Yeah, they are the default vegetable, just the safe, kid-friendly option that you can microwave in a pinch when you realize your entire plate is just, brown and white.
Yeah, so we treat them as this incredibly simple, borderline, boring side dish. We kind of just push them around the plate. But the thing is, we are completely, entirely unaware of what is actually packed inside those tiny green spheres.
Oh, totally. People have no idea.
Which is why today, our mission for this deep dive is to completely shatter that narrative. We've got this really fascinating nutritional science breakdown in front of us, and it explores the actual biochemical reality of the green pea.
It really is wild. It forces you to just reevaluate what you're even looking at when you walk down the freezer aisle.
It really does. By the time we are done here, I promise you, you're going to look at that frosty bag of peas with just a completely new level of respect. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because to really understand why the green pea is so incredibly, almost surprisingly nutritionally dense, we first have to correct a fundamental, deeply ingrained misunderstanding about what a pea actually is.
Right. This is where we have to basically recategorize how we think about our food entirely, starting with just basic botany.
Yeah, because the source material makes this very distinct point right out of the gate. Peas are not just standard vegetables.
Which is how everyone thinks of them.
Exactly. And when you think of a standard vegetable, you are usually thinking of things that are composed, almost entirely of water and fiber.
Right. Think of celery or lettuce or cucumbers.
And lots of crunch, lots of water.
Exactly. And they are wonderful for hydration and roughage, obviously.
Yeah.
But from a purely biochemical standpoint, their macronutrient footprint, like their protein and complex carbohydrate content, is pretty negligible.
Because they're just the structural parts.
Yeah, they're the structural components of the plant. The leaves, the stems, the stalks, their whole biological job is literally just to hold the plant up in kept sunlight.
But the pea is different. The pea is not a leaf and it's not a stem. The pea is, technically speaking, a seed.
Which changes the entire biological equation.
It does. The source describes it as the concentrated blueprint of life.
Huh.
And I was trying to wrap my head around this distinction earlier, and I came up with this analogy.
Okay, let's hear it.
So eating a leafy green, like piece of spinach or a lettuce leaf, it's kind of like reading a single printed page of a book. Like it gives you some good information, some good nutrients. But eating a pea, that is like downloading a highly compressed zip file that contains the entire software code required to build a brand new plant from scratch.
Oh, that's really good. What's fascinating here is how perfectly that analogy captures the biological imperative of a seed. Yeah, because if we think about what a seed actually has to do in nature, its job is monumental. It is essentially a survival pod.
A survival pod.
Yeah, think about it. When that seed drops into the soil, it does not have leaves yet. It cannot photosynthesize. It literally cannot draw energy from the sun to survive.
It's just entirely on its own in the dark dirt, just sort of waiting for water.
Exactly. So how does it survive long enough to push a shoot up through the soil, fight gravity, and grow its first leaves?
It has to use whatever's inside the pod.
Right. It has to rely entirely on whatever fuel and structural building blocks are packed inside that tiny sphere. Inside a pea, there are two halves called cotyledons.
Cotyledons, okay.
Yeah, and those halves are entirely made of highly concentrated starches and proteins. That is that ZIP file you're talking about. Because it is a seed, it biologically must pack an enormous concentration of dense fuel just to sustain new life.
And so that biological necessity is what translates directly into the surprising macronutrient profile we get when we actually eat them.
Exactly. It's built for survival, and we get to harvest that density.
And just to add another layer to this, this botanical pedigree, our sources point out that peas belong to the legume family,
Yes, a very important detail.
which means they share a direct botanical lineage with absolute nutritional powerhouses like beans, chickpeas, and lentils.
Yeah, they are essentially the sweet green cousins of the lentil.
The green cousin of the lentil. I love that.
But because we buy them frozen and casually just refer to them as a vegetable, we completely strip them of that heavyweight status in our minds.
We totally do. Which I guess brings us to the actual fuel inside that ZIP file. Because since we now know that peas are these highly concentrated fuel pods, we need to examine exactly what kind of fuel they are providing our bodies.
Right, let's look at the numbers.
And this leads to what the source calls the most surprising macro fact about green peas, which is the protein.
Oh, yeah. This is the data point that usually stops people in their tracks when they actually bother to read the nutritional label.
Right. Because the source states that just one single cup of cooked green peas delivers roughly 8 to 9 grams of plant-based protein.
Which is huge.
To put that in perspective, the source points out that this is nearly triple the protein you would find in other common everyday side dishes like carrots or spinach or broccoli.
It is an extraordinary density for something we just casually toss onto the side of a plate.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
I hear 8 or 9 grams, and to be honest, as someone who casually tracks their macros, that doesn't sound like a massive amount.
Sure, compared to meat.
Right, like if I am eating a chicken breast, I'm getting upwards of 30 grams. So if someone is listening to this and they are actively trying to get meaningful, muscle-building, sustainable protein in their diet, are 8 grams from a side of peas actually going to make a difference? Or is this just, a fun piece of trivia?
No, that is a very fair question to ask. If you are just looking at raw, isolated numbers on a spreadsheet, yeah, 8 grams might not sound like a massive protein shake. But this raises an important point about how we view nutrition as a whole. We cannot just look at the raw protein number. We really have to look at the packaging.
The packaging. Wait, you mean like what the protein comes wrapped in biologically?
Precisely. Think about it this way. If you just consume a highly processed, refined protein, isolate, like a standard whey powder, your body gets the protein, sure.
Yeah, big hit of it.
But it gets nothing else to help process it or to sustain the body's other systems. The digestion is rapid and it just operates in a vacuum. But the protein in green peas, it comes wrapped in what the source calls a complex starch matrix.
A complex starch matrix. That sounds like a sci-fi term. What exactly is a complex starch matrix doing in our bodies?
It is brilliant biology, honestly. Because they are legumes, their protein profile is intrinsically paired with complex carbohydrates and high-quality dietary fiber.
Okay.
So at a molecular level, a complex starch is essentially a very long branched chain of glucose molecules.
Very long chains.
And why does this matter? Well, think about refined grains like white bread or white rice. Those are simple starches. When you eat them, your digestive enzymes easily snip those short chains apart in minutes. They just flood your bloodstream with sugar, causing a sharp, rapid spike in your blood glucose.
And then you crash.
Exactly. Your body burns through them instantly, and then you crash hard.
It's like throwing dry twigs onto a fire. It flares up super bright, and then it is instantly gone.
That is a perfect analogy, but a complex starch matrix is like throwing a dense, heavy hardwood log onto that same fire.
Oh, I see.
Because those molecular chains are so long and tightly woven, your digestive enzymes have to work incredibly hard to break them down. It takes hours.
Wow.
Yeah, source specifically notes that this matrix provides sustained, steady cellular energy. It keeps you full longer because your stomach actually empties slower.
So the 8 grams of protein isn't just arriving all at once and disappearing. It's being digested slowly alongside this slow-burning fuel log.
Right. And while that slow breakdown is happening, it is actively feeding your beneficial gut microbiome down in your lower digestive tract.
Okay, so it's feeding the good bacteria.
Yes, the bacteria in your gut ferment the parts of the starch that you cannot digest, and they produce things called short-chain fatty acids, which actively lower inflammation in the colon.
Wow, so it makes the green pea an absolute ally for metabolic stability. You are getting the protein, but you are also getting a highly engineered delivery system that basically keeps your blood sugar stable and your gut bacteria thriving.
Exactly. That is why it is vastly superior to just looking at a raw protein number in a vacuum. You're feeding multiple bodily systems simultaneously.
That makes total sense. Now, if this matrix is breaking down so slowly to give us all this sustained energy, what exactly is happening to all that leftover physical material once the energy is extracted?
Ah, that is the best part.
Because according to the source material, a huge part of how the pea manages our internal systems comes down to what is left over, which is the fiber.
And not just any fiber, but a very specific type of fiber that performs a critical mechanical function in the body.
And the numbers here are just wild. A single cup of peas provides nearly 9 grams of total dietary fiber.
Which is a huge chunk of your daily requirement.
Right, so in one little cup, you are getting almost 9 grams of protein and 9 grams of fiber. But the source really zeroes in on something called soluble fiber.
Soluble fiber is truly one of the unsung heroes of a healthy diet, and that's mainly because of how it behaves when it interacts with water in your stomach.
Yeah, the source describes it as acting like a sponge in your digestive tract. It says this soluble fiber binds to cholesterol molecules and actually clears them from your system before they can be reabsorbed into the bloodstream.
Yep.
But wait, how is a vegetable actually pulling cholesterol out of our bodies? That sounds crazy.
It's a fascinating mechanical process. So when soluble fiber enters your digestive tract, it dissolves in water and turns into this thick, viscous gel.
Okay, a gel.
Meanwhile, your liver produces something called bile acids to help you digest fats. And these bile acids are made from cholesterol.
Okay, so the liver uses cholesterol as a building block to make bile.
Yes, exactly. And normally, after the bile does its job digesting your meal, your body just reabsorbs it and recycles that cholesterol back into the bloodstream.
Right, so it's just a closed loop.
It is a closed loop. But when you eat soluble fiber, that thick gel physically traps the bile acids in your gut. It binds to them and they cannot be reabsorbed.
So they just get flushed out of the system entirely.
Exactly. And here is the brilliant part. Because your liver just lost its bile acids, it has to make more.
Ooh.
Yeah, and to make more, it reaches into your bloodstream and pulls out circulating LDL cholesterol, which is the quote-unquote bad cholesterol.
Oh, wow. I was picturing it kind of like an internal bouncer at a crowded nightclub.
A bouncer.
Yeah, imagine your digestive tract is the club, and you have these unruly, problematic cholesterol molecules wandering around.
Okay, I like this.
And before those rowdy cholesterol molecules can sneak past the velvet rope and get into your bloodstream, the soluble fiber, which is our massive no-nonsense bouncer, physically grabs them by the collar and escorts them straight out the back door.
That is exactly what is happening. And if we connect this to the bigger picture of cardiovascular health, that bouncer is performing life-saving work.
Totally.
Clinical research in our sources shows that the regular consumption of legumes, including our humble green peas, supports healthy LDL cholesterol levels and promotes long-term cardiovascular resilience.
Because it forces the liver to use up the bad stuff.
Right. By forcing the liver to pull cholesterol from the blood, you are taking a massive burden off your heart and your arteries.
Okay, so the fiber is acting as the bouncer, clearing out the bad stuff. But the source material also highlights that this little green seed is doing structural maintenance on the blood vessels themselves.
Yes, the mineral content.
Right. It mentions potassium and magnesium.
Yeah.
Now, I usually associate potassium with, like, bananas or sports drinks. What are they doing down in our blood vessels?
They are operating at the cellular level to manage pressure. So your blood vessels are lined with smooth muscle cells. When those cells contract, your blood vessels constrict and your blood pressure goes up.
Makes sense.
Calcium is the mineral that usually triggers that contraction, but magnesium, which peas are very rich in, acts as a natural calcium channel blocker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it literally sits in the receptors and prevents too much calcium from getting in, which forces the muscle cells to just relax.
So the magnesium is literally keeping the blood vessels wide and open. What about the potassium then?
Potassium works in tandem with sodium. A lot of modern diets are incredibly high in sodium, right?
Oh, yeah. Salty processed food everywhere.
And that sodium makes your body hold on to water, which increases the overall volume of blood pushing against those vessel walls.
Which raises the pressure.
Exactly. But potassium activates pumps in your cell membranes that actually help push excess sodium out of your body through your kidneys.
So it lowers the fluid volume, thereby reducing the pressure.
Precisely.
Huh.
If the soluble fiber is the bouncer keeping the troublemakers out, the potassium and magnesium are the plumbing maintenance crew.
The plumbing crew.
Yeah, they are down there ensuring the pipes, your blood vessels, are relaxed, flexible, and not under excessive pressure from water volume.
I want you to just pause for a second and consider how rare it is to find a single dirt cheap food item in the freezer aisle that simultaneously lowers cholesterol with fiber and relaxes the blood vessel walls with minerals.
It's pretty amazing.
It is a dual action cardiovascular support system for like a couple dollars a bag.
It really highlights the elegance of whole food nutrition. I mean, you could buy a fiber supplement and you could buy a magnesium pill, but here, the botanical blueprint of the seed has perfectly packaged them to work synergistically.
It's incredible. So, okay, we have looked at the gut and we've looked at the heart and the blood vessels, but to fully appreciate what the green pea is doing for us, our sources indicate we have to zoom in even further.
We have to go microscopic.
Right. We need to go down to the microscopic cellular level to see how this plant protects us from the stressors of our modern environment.
This is where we move beyond the standard macronutrients like the protein, carbs, and fats and enter the realm of phytonutrients.
Yeah, the source material details that green peas are an incredible source of unique phytonutrients and antioxidants.
Wow.
And specifically, they contain high concentrations of polyphenols known as saponins and coumestrol.
Coumestrol is a particularly fascinating plant compound that researchers are paying a lot of attention to right now.
I mean, it sounds like a prescription medication.
It does.
It is hard to believe something called coumestrol is just sitting in a vegetable. But the source points out that coumestrol has been researched for its potential role in supporting stomach health and reducing cellular oxidative stress.
Yes.
Now, let's break down that phrase, cellular oxidative stress. We hear antioxidants all the time in marketing, but what is the coumestrol actually doing at the cellular level?
Right. To understand oxidative stress, you have to look at how our cells produce energy. When our cells metabolize oxygen, a natural byproduct is the creation of free radicals.
Okay, free radical.
And these are unstable molecules because they are essentially missing an electron.
And because they are missing an electron, they want to steal one from somewhere else.
Exactly. They act like tiny aggressive pinballs just bouncing around inside our cells, ripping electrons away from our cell membranes or even our DNA.
Ouch.
Yeah. And this damage is oxidative stress. You can think of it as cellular rust. Just like a piece of iron rusts when exposed to oxygen and the elements over time, our cells experience damage from daily life, from pollution, from poor diet, from these rogue free radicals.
So the cellular rust is basically degrading our internal systems over time. How does the coumestrol actually stop it?
Antioxidants like coumestrol and saponins are molecules that actually have spare electrons.
Oh.
Yeah, they step in and voluntarily donate an electron to the free radical.
Wow, they just give it away.
Exactly. This neutralizes the free radical before it can rip an electron from your DNA. They literally halt the rusting process.
That is amazing.
Yep.
And the source also mentioned coumestrol supporting stomach health specifically. Does it work the same way down there?
Yes, because the stomach lining is under constant stress, right? Not just from the food we eat, but from the highly acidic environment required for digestion itself.
Right. It's a harsh environment.
It creates inflammation in the mucosal lining. The phytonutrients in peas act as anti-inflammatory agents right at the site of digestion, essentially soothing that mucosal tissue and neutralizing the free radicals generated during the digestive process.
So they're actively helping to repair and prevent microscopic cellular damage.
Exactly.
But the defensive shield does not stop there, because the source lists a whole arsenal of protective elements loaded into the pea. We are talking heavy doses of vitamin C, vitamin K, and then it mentions carotenoids, specifically lutein and zeaxanthin.
Those two carotenoids are incredibly important for visual health. They are basically yellow and orange pigments found in plants, but they play a highly specific role in human biology.
The source states that lutein and zeaxanthin specifically protect your eyes from blue light damage.
Yes.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Think about the modern relevance of that for a second. We spend our entire day staring at phones, at tablets, at computer screens.
Constantly.
We are constantly bathing our eyes in high-energy, short-wavelength blue light which can damage the retina over time.
And most people just buy expensive screen protectors, or they wear those special yellow-tinted glasses to mitigate that exposure.
Right, the blue light glasses.
But your body actually has its own built-in defense mechanism, provided you feed it the right materials.
Okay, let me make sure I'm picturing this correctly. Does the lutein actually go into the eye?
Yes, it crosses the blood-retinal barrier. When you consume lutein and zeaxanthin, your body transports them directly to the macula, which is the small central area of your retina responsible for sharp vision.
Right.
And these pigments physically accumulate there, forming a dense yellow layer over the photoreceptor cells.
And because yellow absorbs blue.
Exactly. That yellow pigment layer literally absorbs and filters out the high-energy blue light before it can hit the delicate cells underneath. It is quite literally a pair of internal sunglasses that you build by eating the right foods.
Internal sunglasses. That is wild. According to the science here, eating a simple bowl of peas provides your body with the exact building blocks required to maintain those internal blue light blocking glasses.
When you synthesize all of this, like the cholesterol reducing oxidative rust, the saponins lowering stomach inflammation, the lutein and zeaxanthin guarding the eyes from modern screen light, plus the vitamin C and K, you really start to see the pea for what it truly is.
A powerhouse.
As the source beautifully puts it, it is a total body cellular shield hiding in plain sight.
Hiding in plain sight. These are not just empty calories or some bland side dish. This is highly sophisticated protective chemistry.
Absolutely.
You've completely deconstructed the pea today. We know it is a ZIP file of botanical life, a titan of plant protein, an internal bouncer for cholesterol, and a microscopic cellular shield against blue light and oxidative stress.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. But let us bring this deep dive back to your kitchen, because now that you know the science, how do you actually use this information?
Application is everything, right? Knowledge is only as valuable as how you implement it into your daily routine.
Totally. And the source material leaves us with some very practical culinary takeaways. The main directive is simple. Do not overlook that humble freezer bag anymore.
Right.
We need to elevate the pea from a sad microwave side dish to a core ingredient.
It is about integration rather than isolation. You do not have to just eat a bowl of plain, mushy peas.
Nobody wants that.
Right.
But the source suggests tossing them into your risottos, where that complex starch matrix can just blend right into the creamy texture of the dish.
And that sounds great.
Or blending them into vibrant spring soups to get all that cellular defense in a bowl. Or even folding them into your grains like quinoa or brown rice.
Yeah, that's a brilliant way to do it.
And if you do that, you absolutely supercharge the meal with an extra 8 to 9 grams of plant protein and 9 grams of fiber, completely changing the metabolic impact of that entire meal.
The overarching summary here is just that physical size does not dictate nutritional value. I mean, these tiny green spheres might look insignificant, but they are absolute titans of human nutrition.
They really are.
They are delivering complex, soluble fiber to clear out your cholesterol, high-quality plant protein wrapped in a slow-burning matrix to sustain your energy, and a whole suite of highly specific phytonutrients to defend your cells from daily oxidative wear and tear.
Tiny in size, mighty in nutrition. You really do have to give the green pea the respect it deserves next time you open that freezer door.
For sure.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, lingering thought to chew on.
Oh, I always appreciate a good thought experiment.
Think about this. If a simple bag of green peas, something we have long dismissed as the absolute creepiest, most boring, most uninspired staple sitting in the frosty depths of our freezer, if that little seed actually contains a complex pharmaceutical-grade biochemical matrix, what other overlooked boring foods sitting in the back of your pantry right now are secretly hiding profound biological secrets just waiting to be unlocked?